All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining 888 VoIP and Vodia. So today we're going to segue into an introduction about Vodia and about Cisco, but a bulk of our webinar is going to focus on interoperability with the Cisco 8800 series and the Vodia IP PBX phone system. So we're just going to give everyone about 1 more minute to join on the webinar, and then we will begin. All right, we're going to go ahead and start. So like I said, thanks again for joining us, 888 VoIP and Vodia, for our webinar today. I'm Danielle, and I'm the marketing director over at 888 VoIP. And I just want to go over a few housekeeping items before we get into the bulk of our webinar today. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the question tab over in your control panel, and you can send us your questions. At the end, we will answer those questions. Your line's going to stay muted throughout the entire webinar. We also have John Zader on the line as well. He is a national account executive over here at 888 VoIP, and he is our in-house Vodia specialist. So he can also help answer some questions at the end too. So if you had someone on your team that couldn't attend today, or you want to rewatch this webinar, I'm also going to go ahead and send you a follow-up email after with contact information to schedule a one-on-one call with the link to this webinar, and also some information regarding our upcoming Vodia training. So if you've attended one of our trainings before, you kind of know the format. Our next training for Vodia is going to be on April 2nd and 3rd in Niagara Falls at the Seneca Niagara Casino. The first day is going to be lecture style training, and the second day is going to be a hands-on training. At the conclusion of the second day, you are going to receive a certification. If you want any more information regarding the training, there will be a link in that follow-up email. And additionally, there's more information on our events page, and you can also contact John Zader, myself, or Sal's at 888voip.com, and one of our channel account managers can provide you with a little bit more information. So we're just going to give you a brief overview of 888 VoIP and who we are before we get into this webinar. So in case you're not familiar with us, or you need a little refresher, 888 VoIP has been around since 2006, and we are a top value-added distributor of VoIP hardware and software solutions. So, we say what sets us apart from other distributors is that we don't just offer a really wide product portfolio, but we also have a lot of value-added services, and they fall under the umbrella of our Channel Advantage program. If you're not familiar with the Channel Advantage program, what it is, it's a program for our managed partners, and they can access a whole slew of services. Those services include, provisioning packages, advanced API, pre and post sales support, branded customized marketing collateral, inventory management, full cycle logistics. I mean, it's very, very extensive. So 888 really strives to identify what customers specifically need, and then we use and leverage our team to deliver a tailored solution that's going to help our partners. So, we're not just focused on that sales piece. We want to fully assist our partners with any back-end processes that are going to make their lives easier and help propel their business. So back in 2018, we added a lot to our business structure, our model, and our portfolio. So in case you missed it, there was some big developments that happened, which included the addition of our new Reno, Nevada distribution facility. We had a growing demand for West Coast fulfillment and support, so we added a new facility. It's also tripled our warehouse space, It helped us add additional West Coast sales and support personnel, and it also allowed us to reach 85% of West Coast markets with 1- and 2-day shipping. That expansion is so crucial to ensure that our partners can tap into those West Coast opportunities and fulfill needs of any already existing West Coast customers. Yes, the facility expansion was a huge announcement, but another big announcement was the addition of Vodia last year to our manufacturer portfolio. So we are now a Vodia distribution partner, and we even got to feature Vodia back in January, February, in our booth at IT Expo. They're also going to be in our booth at Channel Partners in April. So, we also distribute an array of Vodia compatible manufacturers like Cisco, which is the topic of our webinar today. So if you're interested in learning more about what we offer from Vodia or how we can help you with Vodia distribution, you can feel free to send an email to our team at sales@888VoIP.com, or you can directly email John Zader. His contact information is right there, jzader@888VoIP.com, or you can just give us a call. Our general number is 888-864-7786. So at this time, I am going to hand it over to Eric Altman, who is a sales engineer over at Vodia, and I will talk to you again at the Q&A section.
Thanks, Danielle. So today we are going to go over provisioning Cisco phones. We'll talk about some other things just related to general Vodia information, but the main purpose of the webinar is to show you how easy it is actually to provision a Cisco phone on the Vodia PBX. So just starting with what is Vodia, we develop and provide leading-edge software for enterprise communication solutions. We've done this since 2006, and you can see below we had a couple of different iterations of Vodia. We were PBX and SIP, then SNOM1, and then from 2012 to the present, it's been Vodia. So it's been Vodia all along, just some different names, and we're providing both cloud and on-premises IP PBX technology. We're a privately owned company. We're headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. A little bit more, again, it's web-based software. It works and integrates with all the popular IP phones and SIP trunk providers. We do support both single-tenant and multi-tenant deployments. So we can do just CPE, customer premises equipment, as a single tenant, one PBX, but that one PBX in a hosted environment can support multi-tenant. So you can create multiple customers and put them all on one instance of the PBX. We have our own API integration. As far as platforms, we can run on Windows or Linux, even Mac. Again, it's on-premises or cloud. And probably, number one paramount thing to us is security and reliability. So if you've delved into the Vodia PBX at all, you know that we do have a lot of features. I mean, very feature-rich, pretty much anything you can think of. But even more important than the features is security and reliability. And so that's our number one thing. And I think as you delve into the PBX, you'll notice that that's key. And I think it's key for you and your customers, obviously. Based in Boston and built by us. So just to stave off any questions later, asking, is this based on Asterisk? It is not. It is our own code, our own stack, built in-house from the ground up. As far as our single tenant model or CPE, where the equipment's going to be on premises, the way that's licensed, there are different editions, and it is done by concurrent calls. So the editions would be a standard, a pro, or an enterprise. And that's going to define what features that customer will have. And then they can have anything from 4 concurrent calls up to 1,024 simultaneous calls. And everything counts as a call. Inbound calls, outbound calls, extension to extension internal calls are all going to count as calls when you're configuring a system for the amount of concurrent calls you'll need. Nice thing about this license model is we can say unlimited extensions. So if you are adding new extensions, you don't need to let us know. You can just add those extensions, and as long as they're still only using that many concurrent calls, you're good to go. If they do need more, easy to upgrade the licensing to go from 4 to 8, 8 to 16, whatever you need to do. Some of the things that are included, the LAN provisioning, which we're going to talk about today, recording is included, but actual automatic recording on the Enterprise Edition. So that's the one with all the features. You can actually set it to auto record. On the Pro Edition, you can do manual recording. We do have a session border controller that's built in on all of the versions. So that's there. It's not anything you can mess with, but it is embedded in there. So you've got an SBC on board. The support is all USA based, and again, these last two bullet points will belabor the point a little. It can be done on Linux or Windows, and we can talk cloud or we can talk premises. So we're talking about the multi-platform phones for Cisco today. A multi-platform phone is just what it says. It's a phone that can be used on multiple different platforms. So the firmware inside of there will allow it to be used for other platforms, Vodia being one of them. And the ones we're talking about today are the third-party call controls phones by Cisco, the 8800 series. Here are some of the other, Cisco products that we support. So we've got the basic 6800 series and 7800. Those are supported. The conference phone, the 7832. Again, the advanced phones we're talking about today, the 8800 series, the ATA or a Cisco ATA 190, and then any expansion models that need to be added to these. So the 8800 series, it's a great fit for businesses of all sizes. You've got a 5-inch high-res color display. All the 8800 series will have the crystal clear wideband audio. They all have headset support as well as PoE, and they're all gigabit Ethernet. I think the next slide is kind of a chart showing some of that. So here we have 5 of the 8800 series phones, all except the 8811 are the 5-inch color screen, whereas that's got the grayscale screen. You can see on the Ethernet switch that they are all gigabit. They all have 10 programmable line keys and 4 function keys. They all have a headset port. As far as the expansion modules go, the 8811 and 8841 cannot be added on with an expansion module, but with the 8851 you can do 2, 61 and the 65 can do 3. They all are full duplex speakerphone and the wideband audio, all PoE, with the first 2 being class 2 PoE and the last 3 being class 4. And they can all be mounted on the wall as well. So that's just kind of a quick overview of the 8800 series. And in most cases, most of it is very similar with all of the phones, but some of the differences being the PoE class, the support for the expansion modules, and color compared to the grayscale. Now, just in general, when we're talking about Vodia provisioning features, I mean, we do have true zero-touch provisioning. We have LAN discovery, which we're going to talk about through multicast packets, so this can actually discover the phone on the LAN. And then the assignment is all from the browser. We've got a database of many contemporary phones, Cisco as well as others. And we also have the ability to configure buttons, so there are available buttons and button modes, and configuration files can be generated on the fly. We're always doing updates with new models, new vendors, just adding more choice out there for your customers. If they say they want a specific phone, we want to be able to support that. And since technically we support anything that's SIP, the question then just becomes as far as how can we provision it. And in most cases, it's no problem. But, if you come up with one that we haven't used before, we'll test it, run it through, and get it to that point where it can be found on the LAN and provisioned. Everything can be completely managed through the web, and there's a large number of supported modes with this. We're talking about the steps for provisioning. So you're going to log into the Vodia phone system, create an extension, button configuration, create a button template, power up your Cisco 8800 third-party call control device, and the phone discovery on the LAN. So we'll just go through a few slides that goes over those steps. As far as logging into the system, if any of you have been on a Vodia system, you know this is pretty simple, but if not, you'll see that it's pretty simple. Just type in the local host, https://localhost, or you can just put in the IP address of the machine itself. Sign in by typing in admin with no password. Now that's the default. Excuse me. Obviously, we're going to suggest that you do put a password in there, protect your system. But when you first fire it up, just by putting in an admin and hitting login, you'll be logged into the system. If you haven't licensed the product, you need to, and there's just a link right there. And again, this will all be available afterwards, but that's right on our website as well. If you're on there, there's a little button that takes you to a registration page where you fill in your basic information, name, email address, phone number, things like that. No money involved, nothing major, but once you're registered, then you can sell or resell Vodia products. So now you signed in, you're in there, you want to navigate to localhost. If you look at the little screenshot here, you can see here how it says localhost. So instead of being at the system level, the top level, now we've gone to the domain level. Now in a single tenant environment, that's one domain, and that's localhost. If you were in a multi-tenant system, then you would choose a domain. You'd actually navigate to the list, and the list would show all the different domains, all your different customers or tenants on the system. You choose the one that you want to create an extension with, which domain, then you navigate to extensions. You can see that highlighted on the left, and click on add, and then create your first account. So a basic pop-up window here, just with their basic information that you can put here on the extension. These are the supported buttons for the Cisco series. So you've got, private lines. You've got a voicemail button, prefix if you need to add a prefix to the call. If you're using any of the ACD functionality, you've got an agent login and log out button. You can also transfer this call to or from your cell phone. So you leave in the office, you can just hit that button. It'll go to your cell phone, and that should go. LDAP button for address book, group pickup. If you're part of a group, another phone's ringing, you can actually pick up that phone using this button. An intercom to intercom somebody without actually calling them. Park orbits, so that you can grab parked calls if someone parks it on orbit 1 or 2, that's going to show there. And then the BLF button, which is kind of a universal button for presence, for pickup, for speed dial. And that's, that can be used in a number of different ways, and there's also a supported button on the Cisco phone. So when you're configuring these buttons, obviously this helps you take control. You're going to navigate, so you're in localhost again. As you can see down here, you're going to navigate to advanced and buttons. And once you get to the buttons, you're going to choose the Cisco button profile. At that point, you assign extensions or accounts to the parameters you'd like to monitor. So you can see kind of here where we've got these BLFs. That's going to be a BLF for extension 440 or 441. However that's set up, there's your parameters. That's just the extension you'd be monitoring. And again, BLF basically works as a universal button on the PBX. So once you set this up, now you actually have a button template for your Cisco phones. So now we're going to configure the phones in the LAN. So in the admin level, so you'll notice here it doesn't say local host, it says system level. So you're up one level, you've gotten out of the local host or the domain that you're in, and you're on the top level, the system level. You're going to navigate down to phones and LAN devices. Reboot or plug in your Cisco 8800 phone. Once that comes up and is operational, you'll see it here in the LAN page. So it'll show the phone that you just booted up. And there's a setup button, and setup is just this quick little window. You choose an extension that you want to set this up with, a domain if it's multi-tenant, hit save, and you're good. You've just created, or you've just set up that phone. That's really all there is to it. Success. It reboots, registers to the PBX, and because you created that button template, buttons are going to be configured by the PBX automatically. So, I'm just going to back up for a second. It's really that simple. Just navigate to phones, plug in the Cisco phone or reboot it. It's going to be shown on the LAN page. Click on setup, save, done. Success, and buttons are on the phone as well. Just a little plug for some of the hardware we've got available now as well. Well, not available now, I shouldn't say that, because the Vodia IO is one piece that's not available in the US yet. But this is kind of an all-in-one box. So it's got a router with DSL, fiber, Wi-Fi, DEC phones are supported, Bluetooth, and the PBX itself, and all kinds of other features as well. So this is going to address shops, restaurants, lawyers, places where all-in-one type of device is going to give them more than having a separate router, separate Wi-Fi, all of that. So you can have all that in one with the Vodia IO. Most of the connected phones can be the DEC phones. And this is available in Europe and APAC currently, but just not in the US, not before spring, which I know is, 1 week away now. Don't expect it next week, but probably, within the next few weeks or the next couple of months, this will be available in the US. And the IOP on the other side is something that's available today. And this is just the PBX. This is not a multi-functioning box like the IO. It's just the PBX loaded onto this small device, connects through Ethernet, and can run any of those CPE licenses. It's good for 16 simultaneous calls. So when I say it can run any of the CPE, I'm talking standard, pro, enterprise. And then 16 concurrent calls is kind of probably the max you're going to use on here. If you're doing recording, a fair amount of recordings, you may want to max that out at 8. So this is not made for huge enterprises, but for a small office. And if you've got 16 simultaneous calls, you could probably support anywhere from 30 to 50 people on that, you know, depending on how busy they are and how many simultaneous calls are going on. It's got a big 64 gig SD drive in there. You can have thousands, literally thousands of hours of recording on this. It's $199, and that is available today. In fact, we're going to be doing a giveaway today, so we are picking a random person from the list of registrants, or the list of attendees, I should say, and they will receive one of these devices, no charge. This does come fully licensed as well. I mean, when I say fully, it's a standard license with 4 concurrent calls, so not every feature, but you've got, you know, the basic features on there and a 4 concurrent call license ready to go. This thing can be plugged in, and you can start using it, you know, day one, with no extra charges. And it can be upgraded as well. And that's pretty much what I got for you. I hope that was informative. Like I said, the actual premise of the whole webinar, setting up the Cisco phone, is literally a piece of cake. And so we just want to show you some other things as well. But if anybody does have any questions on anything Vodia related or 888 VoIP related, now will be the time that you can go ahead and put them into the chat window, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. So it looks like we have a couple questions that already came in. So if we want to start with the first one, what does the Vodia platform do with the RFC 6035 reports that the Cisco handsets generate?
All right, let me get an answer to that. Hold on one sec. Yeah, I mean, we're not doing anything with that in our PBX. So that may be generated, but we're not using that report for anything within the PBX. We have a lot of, you know, call detail reports and things that are built into the system, graphs and all of that. But with the actual report that's generated by the Cisco phones themselves, it's not incorporated into the PBX at this time.
Okay. All right, so we'll go to another question from Anthony. Can we use the PBX to collect, correlate, and report on call lag and signaling quality?
Yeah, I mean, we're showing you all kinds of things from MOS score to, so there's your signaling quality. I mean, all of that is available in the PBX. There are graphs and other things that will show you all that information. Yep. Pointing out MOS score, yeah, the MOS score is in there. So yes, we understand that reporting on that type of information is key and critical, and that's not a third-party thing. Those are reports that are built into the PBX.
All right, great. So the next question, can we do a high-quality video call using 2 of the Cisco 8865s?
Hold on one sec. Yes, as far as one-to-one on something like that, we can do a pass-through, and that can be a high-quality video call. Obviously, calling to other phones or other systems, not necessarily, but within the same system, 2 8865s talking to each other, no problem.
All right, great. So our next question, someone was just a little bit late and missed a bunch of the 8800 limitations, but wanted to know if you were able to provision over the cloud.
Those, yes, they can be provisioned over the cloud. It's not going to be done the same way here. Typically, if you're doing WAN provisioning, you're going to set an option 66 on your DHCP, and that's going to tell the phones what the PBX IP address is and set them up remotely.
All right, perfect. So Eric, we have a question about some of the older Cisco phones. So we have a couple questions. Does Vodia support the older high-end Cisco 9971 phone? And additionally, does Vodia support the older Cisco 7960, 7961, and 7971G? So we had some of the 7900 phones and the 9971.
So no, we do not support those the way we're talking about today. We only support the 8800 series third-party control phones. So it needs to be the 8800 as well as that third-party call control piece.
All right, and we have just a question from Ricardo here about some support and what's needed. So what kind of telephone services would the system need to work? And then he also asked SIP trunk or analog, both.
So I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, or I'm just trying to understand what they're trying to ask here?
All right, hold on, let me pull it back up. It's gone, it disappeared. He asked about if you needed SIP trunk, analog, or both, and what phone system you would need to support.
Well, Vodia is the phone system. That's the PBX. You know, obviously we support SIP, but we can do analog through an ATA. So SIP or analog, whatever they've got, we can support. It's native SIP coming out of the box, but there are ATAs that can convert that to analog if need be. And the system, the phone system is obviously the Vodia PBX.
All right. With the Cisco 8800 phones, will you support the non-3PCC firmware, the standard UCUM SIP firmware?
Unfortunately not.
Okay. And yes,
again,
this question,
okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the firmware was just, you know, that third-party call control piece.
Perfect. And then yes to Michael and to anyone else who's wondering, these slides will be available, this recording will be available, and all of that's going to be in that follow-up email for you guys. It looks like we don't have any other questions right now. So, you know, I'll give it one more minute. So send in any of those last minute questions. You saw the contact information that Eric had up on the slide. I gave you John Zader's contact earlier and the 888 phone number. So you can always get in touch with us by referring to what we had posted in the slides or what's going to be up in that follow-up email as well. And you should receive that within the next few days from us. And if you are the winner of the Vodia IOP, I will get in touch with you regarding that. So we're going to give it one more minute, and then we're going to, we got one more question. Perfect timing. So we're here for Eric. What is the difference between hosting Vodia on the cloud versus using the small IOP device?
Well, probably the biggest difference is the IOP device is the same as putting this on a server as a CPE system. So you're at a single tenant level. As far as features, it's going to be the same whether it's hosted or whether it's on premises. But with the hosted, you're able to build the multi-tenant. So if you're hosting that, as a reseller, you're hosting the system, you can put all of your customers on the one instance of the PBX. The IOP, just like if you're just doing any type of CPE server where you're loading the software onto a server, is going to be single tenant. That's really the only difference. Besides that, the software features, all of that, the phones that are supported, it's all the same.
Can we use the IOP device to support a customer with multiple locations across the U.S.?
So that can be done, you know, with ports and things like that, like if you need to actually network the devices. So the answer is yes, it can be done, but you know, there may be a couple of hoops to jump through. We're just not saying it's click here and you're done. But yes, that can be done if you wanted to network a couple of IOPs.
All right, it looks like we don't have any more questions. So if you have any, again, get in touch with us. And I'm just going to make one more plug for our training event. So we have our Vodia PBX in on-site training on April 2nd and 3rd. It's in Niagara Falls, New York. It's at the same place that we generally host them, the Seneca Niagara Casino. So like I said before, day one's lecture style training is going to prepare you for your hands-on training on day 2. You or whomever you send, you will walk away with a certification. On day 1, at the end of the day, we will also have a welcome reception happy hour that's complimentary. So please, definitely get in touch with us about that. Spots are limited, so you do need to act fast on that. Plus, April 2nd and 3rd, guys, that's not that far away, so you really want to get on registering for that great event. Like I said, if you go to 888VoIP.com/events, it's on our event page. You may have received emails about it, and it will be in that follow-up email as well. John, myself, Eric, we can give you some more information too regarding the training and the certification if you need it. So that's going to conclude our webinar today. We will definitely be in touch with you, and we'll also be in touch with you about any upcoming Vodia webinars as well. So thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you, Danielle.